The last enemy cruiser broke apart in a blossom of white plasma and drifting metal. Across the battlefield, thousands of alien warships slowly powered down their weapons as the silence of space returned. The war had raged across star systems for 8 cycles, consuming planets, fleets, and civilizations. Now, finally, it was over, and the Galactic Fleet had won. Admiral Zyrel of the Vathari Dominion watched the wreckage field from the command balcony of the flagship Radiant Supremacy. The stars beyond the viewport glittered against the black void, while fragments of enemy vessels drifted in long, frozen arcs. "Confirmed," Zyrel said calmly, his 4 eyes narrowing slightly. "All enemy signals have ceased." A technician at the lower command pit ran a final scan. Moments passed. Then the answer came. "Confirmed, Admiral. The Korthax Imperium fleet is gone." A murmur of relief spread through the bridge. Some officers even allowed themselves small gestures of celebration, tapping claws together, releasing soft musical chirps, or flicking their sensory crests. The war that had threatened half the galaxy was finished, and the Galactic Fleet, an alliance of 12 major civilizations, had emerged victorious. "Transmit the victory signal," Zyrel ordered. Across the armada, thousands of ships began broadcasting the same message on every frequency. War terminated, hostiles eliminated, galactic peace restored. Within minutes, celebrations erupted across the fleet. Carrier vessels launched ceremonial drones that released shimmering fields of colored particles. Massive cruisers illuminated their hulls with victory patterns. Pilots joked over open comm channels. For the first time in years, the galaxy could breathe. Even Admiral Zyrel allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. "The Council will be pleased." But before the technician could respond, a warning tone suddenly pierced the bridge. A harsh one. Every console lit up crimson. The celebrations stopped instantly. "Report," Zyrel said sharply. The sensor officer's voice came out tight with confusion. "Admiral, we're detecting a hyperspace disturbance." "How many vessels?" The officer hesitated. "Unknown." Zyrel leaned forward slightly. "Clarify." The sensor display magnified the disturbance, a vast ripple forming an empty space beyond the battlefield. Except it wasn't empty anymore. The ripple was enormous, much larger than any normal fleet jump. "That can't be right," the officer whispered. "The mass reading is impossible." The disturbance expanded further. Every ship in the armada began receiving the same alert. Hyperspace breach detected. Fleet-wide sensors turned towards the growing distortion. Then the first object emerged. Silence filled the flagship. It was enormous. A warship, clearly, but unlike anything the Galactic Fleet had ever seen. The vessel's hull was long and angular, covered in heavy armored plating that reflected faint starlight. Massive weapon arrays ran along its spine, each one larger than an entire destroyer. The ship alone was bigger than most carriers. "Identify that vessel," Zyrel ordered. The sensor officer's claws trembled slightly as data streamed across the screen. "I cannot match the design to any known species." More ships emerged behind the first, then more and more. Soon dozens of titanic vessels slid out of hyperspace, like silent predators entering a hunting ground. They were all the same design. Dreadnoughts, massive, heavily armored, built for war. Across the fleet, stunned officers stared at the displays. One cruiser captain spoke over the open channel. "What species operates vessels that large?" No one answered. Finally, the sensor officer whispered something that sent a ripple of unease across the bridge. "They're transmitting a signal." "Audio," Zyrel commanded. A human voice filled the bridge. Calm, almost casual. "This is Terran Strategic Command." The word Terran meant nothing to most of the officers present, but the voice continued. "You appeared to be celebrating." Silence gripped the bridge. Admiral Zyrell's eyes narrowed slightly. "Unknown fleet, you are entering an active military zone under the authority of the Galactic Council. Identify your allegiance." The reply came immediately. "Earth." The bridge crew exchanged confused glances. "Earth?" The word appeared in the databases almost instantly. A minor developing civilization located on the edge of explored space. Technologically primitive. Or at least it had been. "That's impossible," one officer muttered. "Humans barely achieved faster-than-light travel 2 cycles ago." Yet here they were, with a fleet of dreadnoughts. Zyrell spoke again. "You have arrived after the war's conclusion. Your presence is irrelevant." The human answered immediately. "We are aware." Another ripple of hyperspace distortion appeared behind the first. More ships arrived. Dozens became hundreds. The Galactic Fleet slowly realized something unsettling. This wasn't a small expedition. It was an armada, a massive one. The human voice spoke again. "We're here to verify something." Zyrell's crest flicked in irritation. "Explain." "Records show the Korthax Imperium requested diplomatic mediation from the Galactic Council 4 times during this war." The bridge grew quiet. Zyrell did not answer. The human continued. "Records also show those requests were denied." Several officers shifted uncomfortably, because that part was true. The Council had refused. The war was too important to stop, and victory required total destruction of the Imperium fleet. Zyrell replied carefully. "The Korthax Imperium initiated hostilities. The Council responded appropriately." There was a pause on the channel. Then the human said something unexpected. "That's interesting." More hyperspace flashes appeared behind the first. More ships arrived. Dozens of dreadnoughts blocked the way between the Galactic Fleet and the wreckage of the destroyed Imperium fleet. The human voice continued. "We warned them about joining your war. They believed diplomacy would prevail." Zyrell's tone hardened. "The war is finished. Your concerns are irrelevant." For a moment, the human did not respond. Then a quiet laugh came across the channel. "You think the war is finished?" The sensor officer suddenly gasped. "Admiral, what is it?" "They're charging weapons." Across the void, thousands of weapon arrays along the human dreadnoughts began glowing. Energy signatures spiked dramatically. Railgun systems aligned. Missile bays opened. The Galactic Fleet immediately raised shields. Zyrell felt something he rarely experienced. Unease. "You are making a mistake," he warned. The human voice replied calmly. "No, Admiral." Another 100 dreadnoughts emerged from hyperspace. Then the voice finished its sentence. "You already made it." The first Terran dreadnought fired. A line of blinding white light shot across the void. It struck a Council cruiser. The ship vanished instantly. Not exploded, not damaged, vanished. Its entire hull disintegrated into expanding vapor. Shock sprayed across the fleet. "What kind of weapon was that?" someone shouted. The answer came seconds later, as dozens of identical beams lanced outward. Cruisers evaporated. Destroyers split apart. Carriers lost entire sections of their hulls. The Terran fleet moved forward slowly, methodically, like an avalanche. Zyrell gripped the railing. "Return fire!" The Galactic Fleet unleashed thousands of weapons simultaneously. Plasma cannons, particle lances, missile swarms. The void filled with streaks of light and expanding explosions. But when the blasts struck the Terran dreadnoughts, something incredible happened. Their shields didn't collapse. They barely flickered. "What kind of shielding is that?" the sensor officer whispered in disbelief. The human voice returned to the channel. "You know what fascinated us about this war?" Another Terran volley fired. 20 Council ships disappeared in an instant.
You never once asked who the Korthax were trading with. The Terran fleet accelerated. Dreadnoughts began spreading into attack formations. Railguns fired again. One projectile tore through 3 ships before exiting the other side of the battlefield. Zyrel stared at the displays. The numbers were impossible. The Terrans were overwhelming them. Not gradually, overwhelmingly. "How many ships do they have?" he demanded. The sensor officer ran another scan, then froze. "Admiral." "Yes?" The officer turned slowly. "There are still more hyperspace signatures forming." "How many?" The officer swallowed. "Thousands." The bridge fell completely silent, because the realization hit everyone at the same moment. This wasn't the Terran fleet.